Today we're going to do some videos on some colour change PPF. We haven't done any of these yet, so we just want to go over applying colour change PPF. This is actually a Satin chrome blue PPF from Stack, which is actually discontinued. We're putting it on this car that we PPF'd a few years back. So we're going to redo this bonnet on this car. We're going to go over how we do our corners with colour change PPF. Obviously corners, you want to cover the edge as much as possible. So that's our aim. Especially with chrome. Chrome's quite hard to work with. It will damage really easy, so we've just got to be really careful. We can get adhesive lines quite easy. So we'll go over how we do it, and yeah, hopefully it goes well and you like it. So we'll spray up our pillboard wall. As always, we've given the bonnet a good clean. We'll lay our PPF on the pillboard. Like so. Always spray over the back end just for the dust. Spray over the car. There is going to be little bits of fluff on there even just from cleaning it. So we still need to squeegee it off. Obviously always make sure your squeegee blade is quite smooth and fresh so it doesn't damage the paint. Work from the middle towards the edge. Just so then we're not working from here, introducing more dust as we get towards the middle. Work from the middle towards the end. And soak the floor, we love wet floor. Then we'll spray back over that, so that should now be dust free. We'll do the same on the other side. This is where the IK sprayer from Sign Gear is the boy, because it's always ready when I need it. All clean. Right, now we come to the pillboard. So we've sprayed up our material. When you're doing this on your own, there's a good way, like spraying the backing paper actually helps quite a bit because you can use that to your advantage with letting the backing paper stick to itself. So I can stick it and it's all good. Which just means it's not falling around everywhere or sucking back in. It gives us more time to spray it up. And when we get to this point, to make it easier again, we can roll this up. It's really stuck. So because this PPF has been sat around for a good year, apparently the PPF actually gets better with age. So the longer it's left, the stronger the adhesive gets. Which I guess is a good thing and a bad thing. Makes it stick better, but makes it harder to remove. Always have a tidy workspace. Keep your backing paper rolled up, straight in the bin, not going to slip on it. Double check everything's all wet. We're just going to spray over the bonnet one last time so there's no dry spots. Now, laying the PPF can be quite awkward by yourself, but there's always a way. I give it a little fold up and drop it on, slide it down, and that way you should be able to just unfold it quite easily, make sure it's all in the right position. Cool, so we have more than enough over our bonnet, perfect. Make sure all your corners are covered nicely. Just like so. Spray over it all. So usually we would go around and we would lock the corners. But with this, we don't want to do that because the chrome can get a little pressure point here. So we're not going to worry about actually sticking it to the corners like usual, or like some people would. We're going to stick to the arch using our pure water to just wash away the soap. So we're going to stick our PPF here. And the same over the other side. Now when we get to this side, we're just going to add a little bit of stretch across the back edge of the bonnet. So nothing crazy, just so you can see we're pulling down here. And we're going to tack this down. Cool, so we've got a little bit of tension across our corners. Now we can just work all this PPF out. So I just want to make sure it's all nice and even. We've got no stuck points. We want it all to be flowing nicely. And we're just going to squeegee it all out. So I'm working through the middle so I can separate the bonnet into two. And now we have this whole recessed area on this bonnet. So with this, I just want to try and get all these big bubbles of water out and just drag my hand straight through this recess, and you can see it flows in there really nicely. With that, we can now close this off. And work it all the way in. Again, what I like to do with this is just a little bit of tension through this point. So if we leave it saggy, we've got a bit of a build up. As soon as I pull this through, it wants to suck itself in. So that's what we're looking for. Let's flow into that recess really nicely by itself. Notice as always, I'm dragging the water to the edge, because if you push, you can create a bunch up like this. So if we're dragging, that doesn't tend to happen. So a little bit of tension towards this corner, again, nothing too crazy. And we'll come through and flush our edges through with some tack solution shortly. And again, because we haven't stuck these corners down, we're not getting any sort of marks. We could also cut this off if we wanted to, but it doesn't matter too much right now. Cool, off to the other side. So exactly the same thing, just make sure everything's released so you're not getting any tack points that you don't want. Cool. So straight through this middle, like so. Cut it off. Look this, I've got a little bit of a dry spot right here. So what I'm going to do, a little technique I figured out, if I push water back to that point, because it's still soapy, we can push it to it, drag it back out, and it's gone. Little trick I learned to save me having to pick it back up and try and remove it. Oh, unlike that piece, that was a, there we go. Cool, to this corner. So I'm just going to release this off that edge because it is stuck a tiny bit, just so I can make sure the water's got somewhere to go. Slip solution, should I say. There we have it, that's the bonnet laid. So we can give it a wipe off, check over it, make sure there's no spots we've missed. So this is where you want to work a little bit quickly, especially with this chrome material, because these edges where it's not stuck can create a mark. So I'm going to focus on them pretty quickly. A bit of water right here. With this you can drag it out quickly. Cool, so to get rid of all these little fingers we have, we're going to come in, and we're going to flush it with tack. So as we're flushing it through, we're just dragging that soapiness out of those edges. So yeah, you want to focus on all these pretty quickly, otherwise you will get adhesive lines. This material is very sensitive. Cool. When we're happy with all our edges, we can relax a little bit. So that's that. Next up, we're going to trim all these edges. So brand new fresh blade. This is actually a carbon blade, so they're extra sharp. I don't tend to use these very often, but for today I'm going to try one out. So I'm going to find our corners. We can release this where we stuck it to the arch now. And what I'm going to do is find where the back edge is, which is right on the tip of my thumb, and go just bigger and curve this around and away. Cool. So we're creating what I like to call a little butterfly cut. And then with this, if you've got a nice steady hand, let's get this bubble of water out. Is to, again, roughly see where the edge of the bonnet is. And I'm using my index finger against the bumper edge as a bit of a spacer. I'm just dragging this, keeping tension on the material as I cut it. Get a nice smooth cut all the way around. I'm going to do this all the way around the bonnet. But every time we get to a corner, like this one coming up now, we're just going to go in a little bit closer. Again, we find the back edge, go just past that back edge. We're just going to angle it out at like a 45, 30 degree angle. And then keep a good 5mm gap going all the way around. So corner coming up, get back in. Back out. This just allows it to not get too much bunch up on the back edge when we get to it. Corner again, hook in, back out. So you can see here, it's not much, but we're a lot closer to the corner compared to the edges. So that's what you're looking for. So then when you wrap this round, you get tiny little pinch up, and we'll show you what we do with that in a second. Last corner coming up, so we're coming in quite tight. Make sure we're going to be right, that back edge is quite deep on these, so we need to make sure we're really getting that. Cool. Now all the way around the back. This is a little bit different, so because the angle I'm at, I'm actually using my thumb as my spacer this time. I can go back to using my finger again on this side, but again, different finger, so perfect finger width, pushing against the panel. So you're always using kind of like a finger width as a spacer, and it always works out quite nicely for tucking. Just make sure your finger doesn't slip off the edge, otherwise that wouldn't be fun. Cool, that's all our edges trimmed. So we can leave them to dry for a little bit. We'll come back in an hour or so once those edges are dried and just finish off these corners. Just remember, whilst you're leaving it to dry, to make sure that all your edges are stuck down and you're not going to have any fingers going into the body that's going to cause any issues. So just give it a nice careful check over, just looking for any trapped moisture around these edges, making sure it's all stuck down well. And we'll see you in 10. So one thing I forgot to mention before leaving it is to make sure you flush through all your edges to remove all the soap, because if that soap dries out, that can leave a bit of a residue and then it won't hold around these edges properly. So I'm just going to use my pure water and just go around all these edges and just flushing all the soap out, so then we know we're going to get a good bond when it comes to sticking it down. And this should dry out a lot faster too. So we're going to go around all our edges doing this. The back edge can be quite annoying. What I like to do is put my finger right here, try and get it right in there. That's it. Now we can leave that to dry out. So another thing I like to do, we like to do, a lot of companies like to do actually, is so we keep a lot of our old vinyl tubes and cut them down to various sizes depending on what we're using it for, or bonnets closed differently. So we like to use these over the latch. So as you would have noticed when we were PPFing it at the start, we'll hook this on here. Sometimes it's handy to put a cloth underneath this just so it doesn't damage anything. And we can use this so you can see it raises the bonnet up to a perfect height, so then we can access right around these corners without anything being in the way. So as I said, all bonnets are different, the way the bonnet closes behind. Sometimes this could actually be worse because you're then dropping the corners down in behind the arch. So it's just seeing what works for that kind of bonnet. But for this one, it works perfectly well, keeps it there nice and solid, and it's a good height to work from. So yeah, the tubes, recycle them. Don't throw them away, they're always handy for something. And that's one thing we use them for. But we're just gonna let this bonnet dry out now. I'll see you in a sec. Quick tips. So, drying out edges of PPF. Why would we use a hairdryer over a heat gun? Heat gun's fine, hairdryer is a little bit safer. We use a hairdryer because you can get a lot more airflow from the hairdryer with a lot less heat compared to a heat gun. A heat gun will have a good blow, but you have to have on a higher setting. I know you can adjust the temperature down, but these are still slightly more powerful, and you've got no risk of accidentally turning the temperature up or anything. So safe way of doing it, nice medium heat, which dries it out really nicely, not going to damage anything. So that's why we choose a hairdryer over a heat gun. These ones are quite nice, they're just Amazon specials, good price, little magnetic end, which is really good and powerful. So, dry your hair whilst you're working. If you get wet, yeah, and you can change temperature on this, have it completely cool or have it warm. So we're just going to go around, dry our edges out, and then with this will help you get these edges stuck around a lot faster. So you can see that staying down really quickly, really nicely, without having to wait a few hours for it to dry out. So if you are in a rush to get a car out, you can do this. We do tend to just leave this overnight and let it dry out because we don't like to rush things, take our time. But if there is any reason we want to get it done quicker, then we can do with a hairdryer. Or if you've got any stretched areas, you want to get the water out, hairdryer is a good way to do so. That's it, quick tip for today. We've left the bonnet for about an hour now, maybe just over, washed my car, come back, it's good to go. So, been productive. So, edges should be dry. So we're gonna look at these edges now. We did a little video on this with the hairdryer to show you can stick it down quickly with a hairdryer on this edge, so we've done that. These edges, if we look now, have had time to dry out. So we should literally be able to just rub our fingers around these edges. I've got quite long nails, which comes in handy because I'm just going to run my nail right around this edge and feed it right into the weld line you have on the back of here. So we can get it right into that weld line really, really nicely. And we're just going to work our way all the way along. And as you can see here, what we get is these tiny little puckers on the corner. So the vinyl is covering this edge, which creates a little bit of a build-up. Same up here. So what we want to do is have a little mini blowtorch, which you can buy from Amazon. They actually sell PPF ones of these now. We haven't got one, we'll have one soon. But just a little blowtorch, just a little blast of heat. You want it to be quite a small flame. and obviously controlled. And it sounds a bit scary, but we're just going to go to PPF from a little bit of a distance, just tiny, tiny little blasts. And you're just going to work this material around that edge like that. And then that melts itself around this corner, so it wouldn't ever lift that. So we're going to come up here again the same, so you just got a little pucker up underneath, little blast, and just melting it down. So then from the top, it's completely invisible, and you get full coverage. So that's that all around those edges. So we're going to go all the way around, do the same thing. We've got the back corners. Let's get our tube back underneath it. So back corner is a little bit bigger, it's a little bit trickier. With areas like this, where you've got a bit of a plastic underneath that you don't want to melt, you could always put a squeegee there or some masking tape or something, just so you don't burn anything, because you obviously don't want to be doing that. Tiny little blasts of heat, a little bit at a time, and you're just working this material right around this corner. So I'm just rubbing my finger, little blasts every time, just feeding it around. That way we can get real good coverage right on that corner. Cool. So we'll go around, do it on every corner, and then we'll have a finished piece. So again, tiny, tiny little build up. So just a little blast with heat, and you're just melting that PPF around that corner. And as you can see, so this was actually PPF'd 2 years ago, and these corners are still covered where we've done this exact same thing. A bit dirty now from the water, but and there we go. That's how we finish colour change PPF. Hopefully that helps you guys out, and you can use that on your colour change PPFs. Any questions, send us a message. If you don't like what we do, send us a message. If you've got a better way, let us know, and we can look at that and work at that too.